This is Skip from the Widescreen Gaming Forum, and today we're taking a look at the BenQ EX3203R curved widescreen display. BenQ provided this for review and long-term use with my testing here, so I wanted to give full disclosure on that. The EX3203R is a Quad HD, so it's 2560 by 1440p panel. It is a VA panel, has an 1800R radius curve. It is rated for 400 nits of brightness, 3000 to 1 contrast ratio, a 4 millisecond response, a 144 hertz refresh rate, and it comes with HDR 400 and AMD FreeSync 2. It is essentially the little brother of the EX3501R that I recently reviewed that was an ultra-wide 3440 by 1440 100 hertz panel. It has largely the same feature set as that other panel. It has a solid array of inputs, including HDMI 2.0, DisplayPort 1.4, and USB Type-C with video over that connection. It also has a flicker-free backlight, a low blue light mode, and the BenQ BI Plus technology that auto-adjusts the brightness and the color temperature for the ambient lighting in your room using a little sensor that's down here on the panel. I liked those features and that technology when I did my review of the EX3501R, so I'm not going to go into depth on them here. If you'd like to take a gander at that, you can click the video that should pop up here somewhere. The EX3203R scores exceptionally well in my Spider 5 testing, earning a rating of 4.5 out of 5 pucks. Gamma setting number 3 offers a perfect gamma curve of 2.2, and the reddish color response or color tone offers the perfect or ideal 6500 degrees Kelvin. In testing, max brightness was 358 nits, which is just above the HDR 400 spec for a continued panel-wide brightness of 350 nits. Out-of-the-box contrast, and again, I always test with just out-of-the-box settings, was rated at 1850 to 1, which is well below the rating of 3000 to 1. I'm sure with manual tinkering and possibly turning on the HDR, you could get closer to that 3000 to 1, if not all the way there. Color accuracy was excellent, with an average delta E of less than 1, and looking at the single max delta E of any one color, that was right at 2.0, which again is indistinguishable from the actual ideal color to the naked eye. It is overall a very excellent performer, with the one mediocre result being luminance uniformity. And for all the monitors I've tested recently, luminance uniformity does tend to be the one Achilles heel or reoccurrent issue with all of them. From a gaming performance perspective, I put my current stable of games through their paces, again with an overclocked EVGA 1070 Ti and an overclocked Sapphire Pulse Vega RX 56, I think is the right naming there. I'll put up two graphs. Feel free to pause the video to look at those. First will be the NVIDIA and then the AMD. I'm not going to go into every number into detail, so you can peruse the stats that are of interest to you. In general, across the games I tested, in ultra setting netted an average performance of either 86 or 88 frames per second, depending on the GPU. A very high setting resulted in either 90 or 91 frames per second, again depending on the GPU. And high got us either 103 or 108 frames per second, depending on the GPU. Most games average about 100 FPS on their high setting, so when you're on the high side of that average, you are getting into the territory of the 144 Hz refresh rate, so you're able to utilize that feature with a moderately priced and moderately powerful GPU with either the Vega 56 or the 1070 Ti. Monitors are usually a long-term investment for gamers, so that is a feature that you will be able to grow into more and utilize more of that higher refresh rate as more powerful GPUs come out over time. And so if you're not taking constant advantage of it now, it is kind of a future-proofing feature of this and other high refresh rate, high resolution monitors as well. In comparing the game performance here to the ultra-wide equivalent at 3440 by 1440p, you gain about 15 frames per second at every preset in the games I tested when you drop down to just the widescreen display here. So the question is, do I recommend the BenQ EX3203R? The answer is yes. Given the excellent performance in the Spider 5 testing and a GPU requirement that won't break your bank and still give good solid performance, if you are in the market for this type of monitor, a large format 32-inch 2K monitor with a high refresh rate, I do recommend the BenQ EX3203R. It's a limited market set for this size and type of panel with these features. I found two others online from Asus and Samsung that fall into this same feature set and same market. The BenQ retails on Amazon for $5.99. We do have an affiliate link in the description below. The Asus and Samsung fall into this exact same price range. I haven't tested those, but given the solid performance that we've seen and the fact that it is price competitive in its market, I do give it a highly recommended. My personal preference is still ultra wide and now the super wide 32:9 displays, but if you are in a market for this type of panel, the BenQ EX3203R won't disappoint. One other thing that I'll add is kind of a tag at the end that I think speaks to BenQ as a company. At one point, I've been sitting on this monitor for a while, trying to get to the review. It does have a vase mount option, but it requires an adapter. They lost the manufacturer for that adapter, and while they were working on securing a new manufacturer, they took a 3D printer file, a STL file I think it's called, I'm not into 3D printing. They put that up out and available online for free, so if you had one of their monitors and needed a vase mount, when they couldn't supply it, they enabled the community to be able to supply it itself. So if you had a 3D printer, you could print your own. If you didn't, you could go to someplace like Thingiverse, get somebody to print it for you. And while it's not a free item, and I'm not sure if the original adapter cost anything or how much it cost, I thought it was a very nice gesture that BenQ sort of went above and beyond to enable the community to source this part that they themselves couldn't for a period of time. They do have a new manufacturer available, so you can now go out and purchase the OEM part from them, but that 3D printer file is still out there. So again, a great company, I would say, that I've had the pleasure to work with recently. Again, full disclosure, they did provide this panel for review and usage, and as always, we try to give straight shooting reviews here.